And we're live.
There we are.
So,
And we're off to an invigorating start, as I just
Oh, yeah.
yawned. Super huge.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's going to be a kind of short stream. So, I mean, I just want to lay out some ideas. I've got a couple of different references. I like the whole idea of the striations in the canyons.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be presented bigger and better. I have to have some sky because Eli picked the sky that's going to go in there in the background.
Yeah.
So, I found a new place to get some music. I didn't get it yet. Well, it's been a lot going on. Like I was talking to Jake about it. I just didn't visit the site. There's a whole bunch of music to sift through. So I'll put this on in the background until somebody comes up with something interesting to talk about. I invited people from some of the writers groups again, saying, please come and talk to them about writing.
I can talk some about writing, because
Sure.
actually that's one of the things that randomly popped up at that conference I was at. It's because,
Randomly.
well, obviously there's a writing component, but it's not like fiction writing. But one of the presenters is
What?
no. One of the presenters was the writing teacher at some college, I don't know. And you could kind of tell she was nice and all, but it just sounded like a creative writing class that, I don't know if you ever took creative writing classes at college, but...
Well, that would be hard because I took a couple of college courses, but they were correspondence courses.
Oh.
So.
Well, I don't want to assume. I don't know.
No, I'm telling you. Like after high school, I was really not a fan of what was going on in school anyway, and then I looked into I wanted to get a history degree actually for a while. I wanted to be a history teacher. Shocker there, right?
And then you discovered that tattooing makes way more money?
No, actually, I never intended to be a tattoo artist. It just happened.
Well,
that's a whole different story. But I wanted to be a history teacher or get into history or learn more about history or however you want to put it. But
yeah.
I learned that I can't fathom why, but for some reason, to get a history degree, I had to get 2 math degrees.
What?
Yeah, I had to get, like, there was 2 math classes and something else, and, like, there was 1 history course. I'm like, what? I want to get a history degree. Everything that's math and history is already recorded.
Yeah.
I don't want to be an archaeologist, well, maybe, but that wasn't the plan.
Well, anyway, this woman brought up this article, and in that article, they reference another article.
So they have to.
Well, it's just...
They have to reference something, right?
Well, and this was she had 12 or 13 different articles, and you had to spin this electronic wheel, and then it would choose 2 of them for you. So, this is completely random that I happened to get this article that happened to mention some other article that all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, that's really impressive. So, the guy's name is Umberto Eco. or Echo. I don't know.
No,
I've never heard of him
Umberto
before.
Eco. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I've never heard of him.
that's the guy who wrote. Really? It's the guy
I
who
don't
wrote
think
The
so.
Name of the Rose.
Huh. I did not know that. But he wrote in Role of the Reader that a text is never finished until it meets a voracious reader. And when I saw that, I was like, huh. So all those people who are trying to polish and make the perfect story and it's never really done, it's because they don't ever let it get to a reader.
Right?
Well, it's kind of an interesting little, because I understand the desire to.
Well, no, it's because they never let it get to a reader as much as they're afraid to let it be read. There's a lot of people that I know that write, but they just don't want people to criticize it, and they're afraid that they suck.
I figure I've seen plenty of writing that sucks, so I can suck too.
With that?
I've seen plenty of writing that sucks, so I can suck too.
Oh, right. Well, you're saying in the Bernard Cornwell room, which I guess you just responded once and never gone back to, but you got to allow yourself to write crap, because without a lump of clay, you can't shape anything. You can't sculpt anything. So you can't go back and fix stuff and make it good and all that unless there's something to fix. So yeah, I mean, it's along the same lines. Allow yourself to be bad, kind of, but
yeah. Well, it's really hard to revise
think
something.
Think about
that's
it
not
that way, though. I don't feel like what I write is bad. Maybe that's.
I know that there are parts in my writing where, there are certain parts where I'm like, all right, this will do for now, but it's not good, and I'll have to go back through and fix it.
Yeah, you're good at that. Like, you set up a rewrite, and you know it's going to be a rewrite, but you go on anyway. And for me, if I think that something ain't right, I need to fix it before I go on, because I'll remember it later.
Wow.
I don't.
Well, normally
I have a hard time
out.
reading my own stuff, which is why I haven't finished editing 13th Name yet. I'm kind of trapped right now in chapter 3.
That's not good.
Well, I went through and changed a couple things in the first couple of chapters. But some of the things that I changed in the first couple of chapters, I'm not really sure of. Like, I changed them for valid reasons, but I don't know now if they're as valid as I thought. If that makes any sense. Like, for some reason, I thought that there was more than 3 people left on the list, but I kind of designed it to be 3 people left on the list for reasons, important reasons. There's a theory of 3s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go 3 different places, 3 different important. I love how we have people show up and disappear just as fast as they show up.
It's because they realized, oh my god, this isn't what I wanted. They run.
Thanks, that's kind of what I was meaning.
I just thought I'd, voice it clearly. So.
Thanks.
It's like when your blind date doesn't show up because she really did, but she saw you and ran away. All that kind of stuff.
I've never done that.
Neither have I. I would never go on a blind date. I don't care. I mean, part of me is thankful that I'm done dating. Knock on wood.
I've been a third on a date because I had friends that were twins that were dating twins.
Okay.
And they were bringing their best friend. So I was the best friend for them. I think I'm gonna make this more textured than worry about making it. I was gonna have pieces hanging off of it, but maybe in the final. So, the blind date analogy killed whatever we were talking about.
I guess. Or I got distracted.
So I'm adding the clothes. I'm adding a little dent in the skin. To show that there's some pull on the tightness of muscles. Just one half liquor. Keep using the wrong pencil for the right thing. Right tool for the right job, right?
Probably.
I know a couple people are watching. Say hi. Nobody commented, right?
Nope.
No, we don't want to say hi.
They're shy. You intimidate them.
I intimidate them?
Yeah.
No, I've heard that before. I didn't think I was intimidating. Well,
I get students that tell me that all the time. About how
I guess,
scary.
you know, like, sorry, like when you're saying that, I guess kind of I am because people see me and lock their doors. So, you know, that's a sign that they're intimidated.
Yeah, that might do it.
I don't know why. I'm a good guy.
I agree, but
Thanks. At least someone does.
that's like once. I remember I was at the mall in Fort Wayne, and now this was in my overcoat wearing days. But
I guess
so
we all had them.
Yeah.
Trench coat. Do you have combat boots too?
No, I did not. I didn't go that
trench
far.
coat, combat boots, spike bracelet.
No.
Laugh.
Although I did have a boonie hat, so that might have been on too. But I remember going up the escalator, and there are these two little girls standing next to each other on the escalator, and they're on the step in front of me, so they're up higher, but I'm still taller than them. And they turn around and look at me, and I just look down at them, and they both started crying. Just crying. And I don't know why. I mean, I didn't say anything to them. I didn't glare. But apparently I was scared.
That's pretty screwed up. Like I'm wearing my brown hat, which is a brim hat. And if I go to like Walmart or something, invariably there's a little kid in their shopping cart that will go, "Cowboy, Dad, cowboy." Like, no. But, you know, think what you want. But that's better than them crying.
Very. I mean, I thought it was funny. So
I've had a few kids that were crying that looked at me and stopped. They were, you know, they were whiny kids or whatever at Walmart, and they looked at me and I'm like, "Stop it!"
Nice.
And they're like, "Oop." So I like the idea of doing these warrior compositions where they're different warriors doing different things. I like the idea. I don't want to do the same thing in different locations, you know.
yeah.
So I've got another one picked out. Well, I've got a few of them singled out to pick out, I guess. But the next location, I'm pretty sure the next one will be fall. Autumn. I've had the next location picked out since they gave me the go-ahead. And we're like, oh yeah. I gotta be careful. Be careful not to be on a tangent. Yeah, I told my client that we did the first one. And I was like, you may want to turn the volume down now. What? He's like, I tripped. I'm like, what? He's like, nothing, Dad, nothing. Nobody's talking again. Joe said he has Saturdays off. I'm like, yeah, that's fun. That's weird because when we first started, he was like, Saturday's the only day I can't be there. Like, really? Now it's the only day you're supposed to be able to be here, and you're not really able to be here. You know, it's not wishing bad on him at all, because I wish good on him.
He's gonna do what he needs to do. So.
Well, you need more.
No way, Jose.
Take that back.
You take that back.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
You take that back.
Take that back. Take that back. Prepay income. Prepay public. Prepay help us.
Do you know who the guy was in like the 80s and 90s to some extent? Who was like the voice from like all the movie trailers?
Kinda. I don't remember, but I did know at one time.
I don't know how to say his last name. There's a town nearby that's named the same thing, but the town is pronounced stupid because it looks like La Fontaine, but it's pronounced La Fountain, which I don't get. But that's Indiana.
Yeah, that's like we have Calais here that's pronounced Calais.
Oh, nice. So I was just thinking about this the other day, and I asked my students, my freshmen, I said, you guys know who Ryan Reynolds is, right? Like, oh yeah, Deadpool. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. I was like, have you ever heard him do his, like, he likes to make fun of that guy. He'll break into the whole in a world, and then whatever else he wants to say. And they're like, oh yeah, we've heard that. I'm like, okay, do you know what he's referencing? And not a single one of them did. They had no clue. And I thought it was funny. They know the joke, but they don't know what the joke is based on. I'm like, how is that funny if you don't even know what the joke's based on?
Because he's making a funny voice.
I guess. It's a lot more funny when you know the
You
history
know,
of it.
when you're in with the in joke.
Yeah. Do you often watch Eric July videos? I mean, I know you know who he is because we've talked about him.
Yeah, I watch his shorts once in a while. Once in a while I'll catch him, but it seems like I'm not really catching any of those guys lately.
He had a post today, which I thought was kind of funny. Because in my head, like I had been thinking about the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, whatever it is, and how they're on strike. And I'm like, I kind of understand why, whatever, okay. But then I also got thinking, yeah, except for both of those organizations are clearly left-leaning. Like, they are definitely leftist organizations. And their very presence actually makes it harder for conservatives to do anything. And I was kind of thinking about, maybe conservatives should have their own union. Like, you should just, there's the Screen Actors Guild, great, but we're going to have the Actors Guild. I don't know. But Eric July was talking about why he hates unions, or he doesn't think they're very useful or good. And he was talking about, he's like, why are all these people who are striking? Because the producers and the movie studios are being evil. He's like, why don't they just make the stuff on their own? You get together, you pay people, you get all the benefit, but you also incur all the the cost. But but overall, I mean, you have all these actors that are multi-millionaires, and just like he pays.
They don't want to risk. They don't want to risk it.
Well, I get that, and that's
plus movies right now. Like they were discussing that on one of the Comicsgate things. Movies right now aren't doing anything. Like going to the movies. Why would you go to the movies now when you can do it at home? I mean,
their popcorn tastes better.
Well, their popcorn tastes better, but their seats are shittier. And then you have to deal with people and
their sound systems are better.
Yeah, that's debatable.
their screens are a little bit bigger than mine.
Well, the screens are bigger, but you also have people bobbing their heads in the way and talking about whatever they want to talk about.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of different possibilities that aren't good out of it.
When I went and saw,
like I'm not all right. So I'm not saying one way or the other. What I'm stating is that the box office has dropped since
COVID.
Well, yeah, but since they started making it available to to get theater at home on the hell is it?
Streaming.
Yeah, streaming.
Well, especially when they do same day streaming. I was like, how is that not going to hurt? But
well, it doesn't hurt really the movie production companies because they still get paid. Matter of fact, they get actually more, I think. If you look at it, when was the last time you paid $25 a ticket?
oh, I don't pay that much.
Right. But slowly but surely they're not putting stuff out in the theaters, so you got this strike as one reason. But you also got the availability of not even bothering going to the theater. And people, they used to be you go to the theater for more than just a movie. It was a theater going experience. But they put out so much garbage lately. Like, who was it? Paramount? That said that they're not putting any more animated films out because they don't want to put all that money into a film that they may not get their money back on. Well, that's because you're doing message fiction and not just fun story. Like, you don't have to. You're not required to preach the preach.
Yeah.
You can just put out a good story. That's what the moviegoers are waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I found that interesting that they said they're not going to put out any more animated features because they can't take a chance that people won't go see them. Like, how about you look at the problem?
Yeah. How about instead of writing garbage, yeah, make something good?
Why do you think people aren't going to see them? That's
what I think ultimately that's why manga is doing better than American comics, because they've hired a bunch of writers and artists that are more worried about the message than they are about the plot.
Well, first of all, manga's set up different.
That's
like
true.
the artists that are doing manga actually own a part of that. It's their characters. They own those characters. They own that story. And they're in a partnership with the publisher, basically. It's the same thing that we would do if we were writing a novel and putting out a novel. So they have reason to continue working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they literally have an investment in it. But that is an interesting, note that they don't do that with American comics. They're not like that with American comics.
Well, isn't that one of the things that Image wanted? Like Image, all the creators are like, it's ridiculous that we don't get to own more of our own creations. And Marvel's.
Yes, they wanted what they really wanted, because I was reading actually literally maybe 2 days ago. I was reading Todd McFarlane's account of how that happened.
Yeah.
And he was saying that after they left Marvel, like the night before they left Marvel is when Mark Silvestri joined the group. He literally had till 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was like he was going home and going to bed. So he called up a couple of minutes ahead of time, and Jim Lee was at an auction when Todd McFarlane talked to him. But after they left Marvel, when that group left Marvel, they went over to DC. And DC, broke out the coffee and crumpets or whatever. And McFarlane was all like, we're not coming to work here. Like, because they thought that they had Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane, which Jim Lee was pretty much the golden boy for Marvel at the time. Mark Silvestri, all the big names,
Right. Oh, yeah.
And DC was thinking that they had those guys. And they said no, and they were like, well, we just changed our contracts to include, a bunch of stuff that they had not included before. And McFarlane was all like, how many artists did you include in these plans? How many artists did you talk to before you did this? And he said it was pretty much just dead silent, so they were like, yeah, that's what we thought. Like, he told them at Marvel that if they didn't change their practices, they were going to lose more,
Yeah.
More artists were going to walk. And then, they recruited Gail Keown. Ever heard Gail Keown's story of how he went to McFarlane's house?
What happened?
Oh, I guess they were all anti-smoking because McFarlane's an athlete, and Gail was all trying to smoke out the windows and stuff like that. I don't know.
Makes sense.
It was to the point where he was like, yeah, him and Robert Liefeld were basically kind of athletes, so, but he wasn't an athlete, so he was, headbanger, smoker.
Well, Rob Liefeld had to fit in his jeans, so
What's
very
that?
important. Rob Liefeld had to make sure he fit in his jeans.
Well, he lost a bit of weight.
Well,
You
he
can-
ever
But
he was the one that had the Levi commercial, wasn't he?
yeah, because that's what Rob Liefeld really does well. He really kind of knew what the MTV generation wanted.
Ah.
That's why, I mean, if you look at Rob Liefeld's characters, when he was creating the characters and Deadpool and all that, all their costumes are really 90s styled stuff. He changed the styles that they were wearing to update them to what was more popular in the 90s. Also, like, Rob Liefeld wasn't the one that just created Deadpool. It was Fabian Nicieza, or however you pronounce it, was the writer. So, writers don't get credit in comics at all, really. You have to be an exceptional writer to get credit, or you have to be a writer-artist.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because there's a lot of good writers. There's a lot of shitty writers too. That's what we're seeing in comics now, is that there's a whole slew of different artists and different creators. Yeah, so I was surprised not to see you Sunday. I was kind of a little bit worried about you.
Sorry. I'm
Well, I was more worried because I tried to get a hold of you to see, and you didn't answer at all. But you had an icon lit up. Well, I thought you were there, you just weren't answering. I'm like, why is that?
on Slack.
No. I want to say it was Facebook maybe.
Well, I have no idea.
Either that or Discord.
Well, I always have Discord open. I normally have Facebook open somewhat.
Yeah, that's probably why then.
But, like I said, I was, oh my God. Like, I hate, you know how sometimes you're not sure if you've woken up or not, and you're just
Oh
not
yeah,
sure.
I've had those days where I've slept through and I woke up the next day and I was like, holy crap, I'm late, And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, wait a minute. I missed it. Missed the boat entirely.
Well, it's just, it plays on my anxiety. I get real worried about being able to tell reality from not reality. And so then, yeah, when I woke up and it was a little after 6, and I'm just like, why is it so dark? It shouldn't be this dark. It's only 6. And yeah, it was the next morning. I mean, it took me a while to figure that out. Like, it was
Right.
just so off the radar. But,
It's orienting, yeah.
and then I was still dragging my butt around all day. I was still super tired. I was like, what is... So, that's what I mean by, I feel like I'm just on the edge of being sick. So I'm just, which could be dietary. I don't know. Like, I saw something from Jordan Peterson once where he's like, a lot of people just need to eat a sandwich. I was like, and he explained it more, obviously, but it's like a lot of people just don't, they're feeling miserable because they need more calories. So I know I've been reducing my calories by. I'm not trying to worry about my calories, but I know that when I'm worrying about my carbs, it tends to lower my calories too.
Yeah, yeah, carbs kind of equal calories.
Well, no, I mean there's carbs and fat. I mean there's calories and fat, and calories and protein.
Right.
And
Yeah,
fat
but
tends to have quite a
there's
bit.
definitely more calories than carbs.
Well, yeah, when you're eating sugar and stuff, yeah. So I have had very few carbs. Although last night I made a dinner. Oh my gosh, I was so excited for it. And I was so hungry too. Like, it was terrible cooking it because I was just dying. But there's a brand of ramen called Emi Ramen, which most of the flavors for a pack only has 6 carbs. Or 6 net carbs. But, I mean...
That's the difference.
Well, yeah, there is a difference. And I get it. That's like... Some people call that dirty keto, and I'm like, I don't care. I've been on dirty keto, and it worked just fine. But
I can't do keto.
well, it's hard. It's a lot easier when you can find stuff like.
I can't
look.
do keto because keto almost killed me. Keto
Well,
acidosis or something like that.
well, I will try to avoid that. Although
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying anything about you. I'm just saying I can't.
every 2 weeks, I normally have a cheat weekend, but just like this coming Friday, I think is a home football game, which I'll have to go to. And I think we're playing Muncie Central. And my father hates Muncie Central. And so we invited him down. I think it's Friday. And I'm sure I'll get dinner and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of resets everything, I've noticed. So my weight will go up over the weekend, and then it'll go back down. And overall, after 2 weeks, it goes down more than it goes up. So it's just a good trend. But yeah, finding these ramen noodles that I can eat, it scratches an itch that kind of hard to get.
You know, I like ramen. I used to make ramen where I drained the water and put butter in it and eat it as a half sandwich.
Well, I just cut up some zucchini, fried it in bacon grease.
Oh, there you go. Well, I can't do the bacon grease, but
and then I cut up some a chicken thigh, threw that in there. Then I cooked the ramen in the same skillet. About the only thing I wish I would have had was some chili flakes. I thought we had some when we didn't, but I also put a few peanuts in. It was delightful. It was just delightful.
this is going to be so much more fun with me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I don't have to try to balance the pencil when it's paint. I'm using different colors and different values all across the board. So she's going to be more potent because the light's shining directly down on her. These are in the distance, so they're going to be lighter because that's how you make the distance look distant. All of this stuff is going to get darker as it comes down and closer. Ooh. So you're still knocked out from
What?
that cold medicine?
Well, I'm not on anymore. I was like, that's enough of that. So that one presenter that I said is, I mean, it sounded like she's teaching creative writing at the college level. She had this thing about writing rituals. I'm like, whatever.
Writing
And-
rituals?
Yeah,
Having
Well-
the same cup of coffee and eating the same time
a little
of day.
bit. I mean, she didn't go into it very long, but she wanted to know what writing rituals we have for our students, and or do we use them and all this stuff. But so they made us get into these breakout sessions, and we had to. I mean, part of the thing that we had to do is put up a slide about some writing ritual, and the people I was with, they're like, "No, I don't do that," and I get why. Like, I've read the studies that talk about having a set thing that you do before you write, or before you do anything really, just kind of signals to the brain, "Hey, I'm getting ready to work."
I'm putting on my songwriting suit.
What?
I said, I'm putting on my songwriting suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually know a producer, that music producer that produced, what the hell did he say he produced? He was like produced the Beatles and a couple other bands, And he's all like, I gotta put on my songwriting suit.
Well-
Songwriting suit, huh?
So we're running out of time. We don't have anything done, and teachers can't handle that. Part of my brain's thinking this lady's not going to know which group did what, but whatever. I understand. I get it. Whatever. So I asked my group. It's like, you guys know what the? Have you guys ever heard of Orson Scott Card? Because I don't know if they've read science fiction stuff or not, or fantasy.
Right.
And they had, and I was like, oh, well, I'm pretty certain John Brown got the 3 grunts from Orson Scott Card. So I was mentioning, I was like, well, he has these things about the 3 grunts, and I explained what they were. I was like, I think I can make a fake ritual off of that. So I was like, so I'm just going to type up this thing that says I teach my students what the 3 grunts are, because I don't care what you're writing. Those are 3 good things to be keeping in mind. And
right.
before we start writing, I said that we do the Arsenio Hall, fist pump, and we grunt 3 times, and then we start writing. Which
didn't go over well.
Part of me is thinking, maybe I should do that with my students. Just get them in the habit of sitting down and going, and then they write. Because I think it would be hilarious to watch.
Right. Saturday Night Lights.
I'm just thinking, because we're not allowed to proctor our own test for AP.
What?
So we can't be in the room with the AP test. So, there are other people that have to proctor it. And I think it would be hilarious if, they start the test and then everyone just goes and then begins. Freak out the proctors.
I think someone in the Discord said, make it a guy. Apparently he's not paying attention.
Nope.
Let me make this clear. That's not the kind of suggestion that's helpful.
Maybe she identifies as a guy. Maybe she is a guy. I would hate to assume anything about your drawing.
Trust me, he's not a guy. She may change her mind when she belongs to somebody else, but for right now, he's not a guy. She believes guys should be just used for mating and reproduction.
I just like the fact that axe head probably weighs more than she does.
Well, I'm gonna put something on this end, and I'm gonna actually still put a point.
Okay, I've
got to put a spearhead point on here, but yeah, that was kind of the attraction to it. Actually, the attraction to the model.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's got this big old kind of video game type axe. It's let's see, that's probably pretty accurate. This one's got longer points, but still that size.
I'm gonna go see a man about a horse. I'll be right back.
All right. Won't let him rip you off.
And I'm back.
Yes, you are.
So you know the grandiloquent word of the day?
I did not see it. It's so weird. Facebook's algorithm.
Well, I love that place. Like,
Yeah.
I love it. It's great for names. Like, it's just fantastic. I mean, sometimes there's nothing. It's like, yeah, dumb, whatever. But or words that I don't think are all that esoteric. So I don't know why they're on there. But I'm like, whatever. Like, I always find it funny when something in my working vocabulary shows up there. I'm like, really? Okay.
That's already in my lexicon.
Yeah. But this one today, Rowlery, which is hard for me to say, but I think it's a great word. And it's a place to which to retreat alone when ill-humored, the quiet sanctuary from the world. I am so using that. Like, I am definitely going to use that for the name of someplace. Like, I think I even know which one. Like, that's what I love about that site. It's just so fun. Because in that, in my novel that I'm working on, there's a character that you guys haven't seen yet. And I need a place for him. I think that's going to be the name of his place. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure that one out because that's just too good.
Yeah, I kind of found something like that myself.
Okay.
You'll notice I was using one of those words when I invited you on Discord.
Oh. Yeah, what was that thing? The persiflage?
Yep.
I was like, yeah, I have to look that one up. So, as English department chair, I'm actually the language department chair. Whatever. And the German teacher teaches one class of English. And I was working on a vocabulary thing. Huh?
Does he have an accent?
No.
Does he when he speaks?
No, she's from Indiana.
Oh.
So, yeah, she's been to
She's
Germany.
not actually a German teacher. She just teaches the German language.
Okay. The teacher of German.
I'm being facetious.
But I was working on a new vocab style question for one of my classes, and I was a little worried it was too hard. So I asked her, because we were at tutoring together, and we didn't have any students at the time. Or technically I had a student, but he was busy working. So I asked her to go through this vocab thing, and she got all worried about not knowing the answers. So some of those words are really hard. And she got all embarrassed, and I'm like, look, I know your vocab is bigger than mine because you have a whole nother language that I barely know. So, she can speak. I can stumble through. Like, I could probably make it to the bathroom and get food, maybe go to the doctor, but
I find that most languages like that, I tend to learn the insults first.
well, I know a few of those. In fact, I knew one she had never heard of, but a friend of mine had lived in Austria for a while, and yeah, she came back and she was telling us all kinds of, like, there's one, it's my favorite one, Schwul Schweinschwanz, which is a gay pig dick, and I'm just like, that's a good insult. I'll keep that in mind.
Pretty much anything calling somebody a big dick is probably a pretty good insult.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's a little bit messier that way.
Can you see the background?
I can see a little bit of it. Like, underneath the axe blade, there looks to be some kind of, like, plateauish mountainy thing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also kind of know, that striations thing that you were looking for, like, I can kind of see where that would come in. And you have a real faint, like, mountain that's just about even with her elbow. Right?
Well, there's no mountain coming down this way and then coming back up.
Yeah,
so
that's what I meant.
There's a little kind of citadel right here.
That's really hard. I can see something's there, but I can't see much else.
Yeah, I just did a darker line right here that leads up to it because it's kind of in a like a what do you call that? A royal?
Path, trail, river.
Well, it's in a dip in the mountain, like in the contour of the mountain.
All right.
But it also kind of fades off in the shadow, so. And I asked because it's really weird shapes that I'm playing with. So, like comes down and then it's just like a shelf on the mountain. Still kind of figuring it out because I want to make sure that compositionally that nothing messes up her lines. Kind of like these, they're almost like temples. So it's like easy to make a temple out of something. And there's so much in the distance that you don't need a lot of detail to create it.
Yeah.
But I'm using a reference that's lit from the opposite way that I really wanted to be lit. And I suppose I could have flipped it and then printed it, but not in the time I had before the show started. As you see, I was already kind of having a difficult spot. Yeah, so the book that I'm reading that I was telling you that you should check out. I almost made it to chapter 6 without putting some fucking woke bullshit in it. Of course, you knew we had to. It's supposed to be in the 16th century. It's supposed to be a priest in the 16th century. Researching witch trials.
Yeah.
Which basically he's on his way to a debate on whether or not witches are real.
Okay.
and he doesn't believe they're real. He's a professor in the University of Leicester, but it's the 1680s or something like that. I have to look again, but he's talking about this old woman, and then he's all like, men have it easy, women have no rights. Like, really? There's no fucking way a priest in the 16th century is going to be thinking about women's rights. Because that wasn't an issue until way more recent than that. But even more so, he's a priest, so a lot of the passages in the Bible tell where woman is under a man. It's man's responsibility. Man is the head of the woman, just like Christ is the head of the church, But so because it's a priest, and because in that time period, they didn't really think about women or men's rights.
Right.
They just men thought about what they thought about, women thought about what they thought about. The strength in a lot of the women is because they worked behind the scenes and nobody knew that they had that power. And a lot of these, it's like a trend for the historical authors to try to put modern day causes into their historical fiction, which really ruins it, because I'm reading it because I want to read about that time period, and I know damn well that's not happening in that time period. Fortunately, it was only like a paragraph, and then he was like, if there really was witches and they could really turn people into frogs, why would they use it against women and not put men in their place? Like, there's no way. There's no way a priest in that time period would say that. But up until that point, it was really good. I liked the character, I liked the attitude. Then all of a sudden, he starts talking to me in my time period. Totally unnecessary. I'm still going to continue on with it because the rest of the story seems to be really good, but I may not be able to read books from there anymore if I don't, if I don't give it a good review or something. I don't know how that works.
Right.
If they want honest reviews, then I just really like the way that they did that shit. I was reading some Amazon reviews for other historical fiction books.
Yeah.
And a couple of them were like, they have no compassion about the people they kill on the battlefield. Like, what do you think they fucking did in the time when we were running around chopping people's heads off? You think they stopped and cried about it every fucking time? No. They couldn't. There's no way they couldn't live. It was kill or be killed. Yeah, I was hoping to have you read what I was writing too Sunday.
Oh, well, I will.
Because we've discussed it, and I kind of tried to employ a technique that we were talking about, like the difference between first person and third person limited.
Okay. Well, I will.
It seemed that Jake liked the idea of me going less distant than I was, but we had discussion about distance and different narrative modes. So
tomorrow night is the open house for the school, which traditionally, like last year, I had one parent show up. That's it. Now I have freshmen this year, so they might show up, because I haven't taught freshmen in years. But I have a feeling I'm going to be bored out of my mind tomorrow night. So I will try to make sure I get that read.
Well, I'll have to post it to you because I took it down because it's not the same as what it was when I put it up.
Okay, well, that's fine. I'll look at it. You know I will.
Yep. I was just saying, like, I wanted your opinion of the distance that I had, but I don't have as much distance now. I mean, it's pretty much the same, but I did put it in a little bit tighter of a point of view in some spaces. So what I have is a team, you know what I mean? And I want to make sure that the leader of the team is clearly the leader of the team, but I also I want to get across the characterization of all the people in the team. So I was trying to not write in omniscient, but enough to feel like you've got an idea of what's going on with all the characters. I had one scene that started off mentioning all three characters at the beginning of the scene, like 1, 2, and 3, which is since changed, but he was saying that he felt like it was not seated in his point of view, but there was nobody else's point of view,
Yeah.
So I'm basically, you probably have, basically trying to get the trend of historical fiction writing into this, because I wanted to feel like they're real historical figures, even though obviously they're not. Which probably ain't gonna be much of a read for you. You whiz through that crap.
One of the speakers from today was kind of pushing us to, I guess, kind of I mean, the theory is to meet students where they are. That's the theory. But it's, if kids are into video games and sports and whatever, dumb things that teenagers are interested in, that's the kind of nonfiction you should be bringing.
The opposite sex, but now.
Well, so they're like, if they're interested in all these things, that's the kind of stuff you should be bringing into your classroom. Which, my question for that was, because the guy kind of had this, there was a reoccurring theme of food. I guess that's more of a motif, but whatever. This whole presentation. So I was like, well, just to continue that, if my students, are eating nothing but chicken nuggets, I should try to make sure they stay alive, but I should also introduce them to the magic of Brussels sprouts. Now that's kind of our job. Like, you can't just feed them what they like.
That almost sounds like the James Joyce Hemingway argument.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Well, Hemingway said that if he used simple words, and James Joyce was bitching about him using simple terms, and he was like, well, it'll break their immersion if they have to stop and figure out what that word means. And he's like, but yeah, they'll remain foolish and not know. They won't expand their lexicon. They won't expand their vocabulary if you don't use words that they don't necessarily understand.
That's not our job as writers to expand anyone's lexicon.
Well, I mean, that it sounds like the argument that you're having, kinda. I mean, loosely.
Well, but I would argue that a writer's job versus a teacher's job are two different things.
Well, and James Joyce was arguing that a writer is a teacher too.
Well, and I can kind of see that, and I can entertain that thought, and I can understand how you might come to that conclusion. Like, I get that.
Yeah, but he's full of shit.
But I also just think Hemingway was probably more correct that I think for a writer, the primacy of not breaking the spell is like the number one thing.
Oh, I agree. And
I'm not afraid to use words. If that's the word that I need to use, like if that's the right one, that's the right one.
But I do that to a degree, but how I am with character lately. So I want to write what the character would say, what the character would think. So if the character is intelligent,
well, that's like
I would probably give them a wider lexicon, a bigger lexicon. But if the character is clever but not intelligent, I wouldn't write the words in the way that a more intelligent person would. It kind of distinguishes voice that way a little bit too.
Yeah, but there have been times when, like in Jake's story, I forget exactly what he said. He used the term for a particular type of blade. And
Faustian?
I don't think that was the one. Maybe it was you. I don't know. It was one of you two. And I was just thinking it was Jake, but it might have been you too. I don't know. And part of me was like,
because I don't know exactly what you're talking about. So,
well, I don't remember I'm sure either I'll see it in Jake's story the next time and I'll message you, or I'll see it in your story and I'll still message you about it. But
there's a point, so.
But there's nothing wrong with the term. I mean, it's the correct term. It's the right weapon. I get that. But I just remember seeing it and thinking, all right, I don't actually know exactly what that is. So I went and looked it up, whatever it was. It was some kind of sword.
Right.
And I'm thinking now, there are some people, like I have a feeling you're the type of reader that wants the correct name of the sword. And then there are other
To a
people.
degree, yeah. I mean, like, so I don't necessarily. It doesn't. I don't need to have the correct name of the sword unless A, the sword is important. B, the type of soldier is important because a falchion was only used by certain people. You know what I mean?
Right.
As opposed to like a great sword or a gamer sword but you don't need to tell me, seashell pommel, scallop pommel on a Viking sword. If you say Viking sword, I can picture it.
Well, that's fine.
Or
I'm just
a
saying,
double-bladed sword. So I mean,
I just think that there are some readers that really like the historically accurate
yeah.
terms.
Now, if it's historical, then yeah, that's a whole bunch different. But that's what you're going to encounter with mine, like that word that I threw at you earlier. That is a medieval term. A medieval term for being a smartass. It's like banter.
Well, that's like,
So
I've got a start of a story somewhere.
I use first applause in a story, but I also use other words. So Tolkien has this story about Hakakalorum.
Okay.
It's a silly story, but you know what Cockalorum is?
What?
You know what Cockalorum is?
No.
It's a bragger. It's
Okay.
someone that's running around bragging.
Okay.
So cock from rooster cock.
Oh, cock of the walk?
Cockalorum. That was
Huh.
a medieval term, cockalorum. It was like a bragger that somebody that just ran around beefing up his story, whatever. That was.
Okay. Well,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like in a medieval setting, that makes sense. And I want certain terms to be right in a medieval setting.
well,
But
that's fine.
I also find that I'm perfectly fine in a medieval setting, having the story kind of translated into modern times. A lot of historical fiction readers don't like that, and I've seen that like lately. One of the things I was reading about with those people that were getting bad reviews on Amazon. They were bad reviews for stuff that they nitpick about, and that's fine. That if that's their real feeling. But for me, if I'm reading historical fiction, I know that it's written now, because it wouldn't be historical fiction if it was written then. And it'd probably be hard to read if it was written in the Middle Ages.
Well, part of me has just noticed, like, and there's, I think, a certain market or a certain type of reader that tends to like to have those terms, whereas there are other readers that are just okay with just saying sword, right?
Right. It just depends on the use. For me, it depends on why they're using the word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And then part of me is like, because, like I said, I've started this story, never finished it. Haven't quite wrapped my head around how to finish it, but I've talked to you about it. You might have, you may have read part of this, but the idea was that it was kind of a rip-off of the Three Musketeers, or at least the Musketeers.
So,
but I want
alternate Musketeers or fantasy Musketeers?
They're fantasy, but
I think I did read something about a little bit of that.
But I wanted him to have a saber because I wanted to call the sabreurs. Another grandiloquent word of the day, I think. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be a great name for a group of fighters. And learning some of the history of what that would have entailed, and I'm like, there are going to be people that just really do not like that because I'm kind of breaking some of it.
Well, so here's weird because you mentioned that. It comes back to me reading reviews on Amazon. Amanda and I were talking about reviews and saying that we should probably read the 3-star reviews because the ones that are 1-star reviews almost always gush, and the ones that are 3-star or 5-star reviews almost always gush, and the ones that are 1-star reviews usually aren't very helpful. They just insult you, right?
Right.
So 2, 3, and 4 in the middle, you get a little bit more of fair judgment. So, to what you're saying, I was reading a review for a fantasy book that was basically a history book written, like a historical fiction book, written in a fantasy world. But the guy is a known and award-winning fantasy writer. So this guy is giving him a bad review because even though it's historically accurate and blah, 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 the place names were so fantasy-like, and he hates fantasy. Why would you read fantasy? Why would you read a fantasy book if you hate fantasy?
Yeah, really. You just trying to hate on people?
Well, I guess he just assumed that it was historical fiction. And it's basically historical fantasy, or alternate fantasy, or however you want to, or alternate history, however you want to say it. But, like, I don't get how somebody would, and that's what you're talking about, is somebody reading that and going, well, that's not historically accurate. So it's the same thing as reading Brian McClellan's Powder Mage trilogy. You're basically reading about soldiers that could be either in the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812. So they've got muskets, they've got swords, they've got coats with turrings, which is tails that are folded over with different colors, and you know what I mean. They basically got colonial revolutionary uniforms. They use muskets, but there's also these guys that have gloves, and those gloves, they're magic users. Well, the people that are using the muskets, some of them can burn powder, and that's the source of their magic. But it's really written kind of true to the military setup. So if you go into that and, you're complaining that it's fantasy, you're kind of dumb. Read the back of the book.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, I mean, if you're writing a fantasy that's alternate, like Three Musketeers, Richelieu,
well, it was
I don't see
completely
a
secondary
problem with
world.
that at all. Huh?
It was completely a secondary world. I mean, there is no Richelieu, there is no France.
Well, no,
Like-
I'm saying alternate. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it doesn't. I'm not saying that there would have to be a France or a Richelieu or whatever.
Right.
I'm saying that if you're writing something with an alternate version of that, as long as you make it clear in the beginning that it's fantasy, that's what that opening promise that talking about Orson Scott Card. That's what Orson Scott Card is talking about with the opening promise, right? What kind of story it is.
Yeah. My problem with that particular story is I had an idea of what I kind of wanted it, like what the ending to sort of be, but I could not. My big problem was I couldn't keep it to one point of view. That was my first problem. I felt like it had to be split into 2 points of view, and I don't like that.
What's wrong with that?
There was something from the Dave Farland stuff where either he said it or one of the other judges said something about how it's best to keep it with one point of view.
Well, yeah, because you make a story shorter when there's only one point of view.
Right. I just don't think this one can be told, and not the idea that I had. I just cannot see how it can be done because it's either going to be real short and not make a whole bunch of sense, or you have to split. It just has to be done. And maybe I should just ignore it, like not worry about it, write the damn thing, and see what it is.
Yeah.
But and I might, because that was the one that had the teeny tiny dragon. Like I wanted a dragon that could fit on a guy's shoulder.
Like Lockheed.
Because I thought, my thought for that is that, you know, if dragons live for centuries and they get huge, what if it takes a long time for them to get that size? So they would start off, that's why there aren't a whole bunch of dragons, because, you know, when they're tiny, they're easy to kill. And since you know what they're going to become, most people would generally want to kill them. Or something to that effect. And so, like, it made sense that this
my
tiny...
story is about a dragon. Kind of. Well, it's about a crew, but it definitely a twist on the dragon story.
Well, I mean, this was...
Well,
yeah,
I guess I told you in the podcast, didn't I?
Yeah. But again, this was similar to that. I guarantee. Well, I haven't seen what your idea overall is, but I don't think you were going to go the route I was.
No, I'm definitely not going to go the route that you were, because I was saying it's like a crew story, not just a single character.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, there's a single character at the lead of it, but
right. Well, this is straight up. I want it to be the main protagonist was like he's kind of looking for the Sabreurs, like he's looking for his father who joined them, and the dragon's kind of tagging along, and then things are going to happen. But you know, like I said, I had a hard time with
D'Artagnan crossed with Aragon.
What?
I said, so it's kind of like D'Artagnan crossed with Aragon?
A little bit. Sort of. Yeah, so... But the POV thing really... The POV thing got me stuck, and then also... Like I was looking up, you know, the Three Musketeers and the weapons they would have used, and they would have been using sabers, and I was like, oh, but if I'm trying to make this look like the three, you know, just...
They're using rapiers, right?
Yeah. So, but I'm like, but it's not the Three Musketeers. It's yeah. That's how it gets in my head, and then I start, you know, clamming out, then I just move on to the next project.
Well, also, did you consider that there's mounted troops that use sabers?
Yeah. I really had I don't know why, but I just really kind of like that aesthetic from that time period. But, and yeah, I know about the saber, because they were using sabers clear from like, what, World War I?
Well, yeah, but like mounted cavalry, I guess.
Yeah.
We're using sabers a lot.
Right.
They had a particular way to swing the sabers and everything else.
But that was the other thing. Yeah, because we talked about this, because I wanted to know about how fast he could shoot. Like, you know, like with a revolver, you know.
How fast you can reload and shoot.
Well, just, you know, when you think of like a revolver or a pistol, you know, most of those, they're loaded, right? You just got to, you know, cock the hammer or whatever, but the bullets are all in there. It's all ready to go normally. Whereas, like, muskets and stuff, and, like, the flintlocks, I was like, I don't think they could, that's what we talked about, like, I don't think they could just have them preloaded, could they?
They could have it preloaded. You have to be very careful. What you want to do is not have any gunpowder in the flash pan. Where the hammer strikes.
Right.
So, like, as long as you didn't have any gunpowder in the flash pan, it'd be safer. There's a the saying "going off half cocked"
Yeah.
was because, well, we're talking about flintlocks, and I think the time period that you were talking about, we were talking about either matchlocks or wheel locks, right?
Yeah.
And matchlocks had that slow match, but it still had a flash pan. That's what the slow match ignited, was the powder in the flash pan. Wheel lock is kind of the same thing, but going off half cocked was more from the musket days, where it was a flintlock, because you'd cock it back one click, and that's at a half cock. And then two cocks, and that's when you pull the trigger after two cocks. But some people would go off half cock, literally would. Literally would drop the hammer if you bounced it too hard or hit it too hard with it at half cock. So, you know, I think if you're interested in telling the story, the research is part of the fun, you know what I mean?
Well, some of it, but as long as the research
no,
is
I don't
telling
know
me
what
what I
you
want to
mean.
hear, when it tells me things I don't want to hear, I'm like, "Argh." You know, because there's a lot of stuff you get from watching movies that's just wrong. So then you start researching it to make sure whatever you're imagining is right, and you find out it's not.
And then you've got the magic of it's a fantasy, so you can do whatever the fuck you want. I have to remind myself of that sometimes too. Like, oh shit, you can't do that because of this. Well, it's not supposed to be real history. It's supposed to be a fantasy.
That's okay. So you know I love playing with Midjourney. Like, I don't use it for anything professionally, but I play with it, right? Like, I think it's good. You know how you use Pinterest to look up inspiration pieces or whatever.
You don't have to justify yourself, man. If you want to use it, you want to use it. I'm not.
No, I'm very cognizant of the idea that it's probably stealing artwork from other people, which is why I would never want to use this as
as a cover or something.
Yeah, like I would never do that, because now that I know what that's like. So, whatever. So I was just, as we were talking, I was just thinking about how if you had a So the part of the whatever gun, you got to have a flame to ignite the powder, right? So
Yeah, anything that's like matchlock, flintlock. Well, flintlock, the flint makes a spark.
right, but I mean you need a spark of some type to ignite the powder.
Yeah, you need to ignite the powder.
So I was just thinking, well, wouldn't that be interesting if, while you have these tiny dragons, you don't actually have any kind of firing mechanism. You have the dragon.
Wow, so the dragon sits on your rifle and puffs smoke.
Well, I was thinking more like a flintlock pistol, but so the dragon can wrap itself around your forearm, and then you'd have to wear protective gloves, but it'd shoot fire and, shoot your gun. Another reason to have the tiny dragon. But anyway, I don't think I'm really going to use that, but it was a thought. And so just to see what Midjourney would give me, I said a fantasy musketeer firing a flintlock with the firing mechanism of the gun is activated by a tiny dragon wrapped around the musketeer's forearm and breathing fire. And what it gave me, 3 of them, like one looks like a frog. The other 2 just look like lizard people.
You want to share it? Hit present.
Hold on.
So if you hit present, it pops up with slides, extra cameras, videos, and then share screen. So click share screen, and then it offers you the tabs to share.
Oh, we'll
I'll
see.
just have to okay it, that's all.
Oh, the screen sharing tips are hilarious. Screen sharing works best on a good computer. Thanks.
Yeah, just skip that and hit share.
Yeah, that one might be the right one. Yeah. All right, I think ready.
Yep, there we go.
So, I mean, the first 3 aren't even human.
Yeah. Hold on. For some reason,
I mean, I kind of like one of them.
where'd it go?
What, my picture?
Yeah, did you close it?
No, it's still down there.
That's weird. It should be right there. Let's try it again. There we go.
Right there. I mean, I like the upper right-hand corner. I like that design in general. Whatever.
So firing the mechanism is a dragon. So they're supposed to be dragon creatures.
Yeah.
Except
Yeah,
for the last one. The last one looks like a flamethrower, but I think it's supposed to be a dragon wrapped around it.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of neat, but definitely not what I said. Oh well.
Yeah,
I'm really kind of digging that one guy.
Huh?
I'm really kind of digging the one guy. I might have to think about
Almost
that one.
looks like either a Gamorrean guard or the cartoon version of Gollum or the
I mean, the frog one's kind of funny, but yeah, I don't know.
the
And
cartoon
the flamethrower
version of
one's
Gollum.
interesting. I mean, that's an interesting weapon. Don't know why you'd need it if you already had a dragon that breathes fire,
Right?
but it's interesting.
Well, how far does that dragon's fire reach?
Well, honestly, I had thought about one scenario where the protagonist is dealing cards in a saloon or a casino or something, and behind the players, there would be like a bird cage that this dragon was in, and he'd be there to light people's cigars and whatnot, because that was the most it could produce. Because it's tiny. And I thought that'd be a really sweet looking.
So either a dragon slave or a pet dragon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was there so he could spy on people's cards and signal to the protagonist, but the marks don't have to know that.
No, poker players know that other poker players are going to cheat. So I'd have to have somebody suspect that if it was real, wanted to feel real. Kind of hate having to hard line the edge of these mountains, but I gotta remember I'm gonna have to copy of this.
Okay, so again, it's been a long time since I've done things, right?
Since what?
But it's been a long time since I've worked on art, other than writing. But I don't know if I would have drawn the mountains at all, because you're going to paint this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I just would have painted them. I mean, there's some theory.
Would you like to know why I drew the mountains?
Okay.
Because this is for somebody. And
Okay.
I want them to see what the idea is and approve of it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. That's okay.
That and having this set up and kind of knowing the light scheme, it'll be easier to translate when I do paint them.
I mean, there was only so much I was normally willing to do when I was painting without drawing it first. But there was definitely, because, I don't know, I mean, it was kind of funny when I was taking this oil painting class, and, I'd already taken a couple drawing, like, at the college level. I'd already taken a couple drawing classes, already had like, live models and done all that stuff, and, it was fine. But when I got to the oil painting class, you see people sketching out their composition, and I just went right in and started painting. And the professor wanted to know what the heck I was doing, because I guess she didn't normally see that. And I'm like, well,
That's weird because I see it all over the place.
I guess she doesn't normally see that from students, put it that way. And I was like, well, there's paint thinner and whatnot. You can clean up oil paints for quite a while. I was like, so might as well just paint it, same thing. So she liked that answer. She's like, yeah, that's absolutely correct. Like, you don't need to draw everything first. You should be able to paint it. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, with oils, there's a lot of push and pull. So
yeah, but I mean, I understand, especially the way you said it. With you need to get this approved, so you got to have enough in so he can see it and be like, or she, I don't know who it is, but just to be like, oh yeah, that's good, or no, that's absolutely crap.
Right. I mean, it's a commission, so like, I know she's not going to be like, oh, that's absolutely crap, because she saw it first.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Another writing question, but it pertains to art as well. Because you know how, like, in a lot of fantasy settings, they'll have like more than one moon. Like Dragonlance, that was part of their magic system, right?
Yeah.
Because you had the white moon, the red moon, and then the hidden moon.
They also have huge moons, like impossibly large.
No. Right. So, people like to mess with the number of moons and whatnot. But I haven't seen very many people want to deal with fantasy worlds that have, like, Saturn rings.
You know what?
Rings like Saturn. If you were actually on Saturn.
I have, but...
And you look up and you see,
Even like in Pitch Black.
Pitch Black have rings like that?
You didn't see that?
I've seen Pitch Black, I just don't remember.
Just before the planet went dark.
Oh yeah.
They were looking out at the planet, and they had a ring around it. Well, they saw part of the arc of the ring.
All right. Well, I've seen some.
It's not very often, but like
right.
That's the example.
But I keep wanting to write something with a fantasy setting that has rings like that, because I'm like, they'd have to have some name for it. Like, it's not the it's not the sun, it's not the moon.
People would have names for it other than the rings, because they wouldn't know it was a ring, right?
Right.
They would think it's like a rainbow.
I've always thought that was kind of an interesting.
Have you read the Canson books from R.A. Salvatore?
I've read several books by him.
So it was like the Demon Awakens, the Demon Apostle, Demon something, and then Mortalis, and then Immortalis.
No,
but
I haven't read those.
The main character is Gilsephine, but they live on a world that has a ring like that of precious gems, semi-precious gems.
Oh.
And it's they're calling it a corona, which, whatever. But every so often it rains down these gems, and these gems have magic abilities. They have magic properties.
Oh.
So these priests collect them, and they seal those magic properties in. So,
well, that's fun.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, but, I outgrew Salvatore very quick.
Well, I remember there was a series of Forgotten Realms books that introduced your whatever you call them.
Grids?
Yeah. And then he did a series of books, like a prequel series where they
did the Icewind trilogy, and then
that was the first one.
Homeland, Sojourn.
But they got to be so many, and
well, yeah, 1,000 orcs. There was a lot of them.
Yeah, and I lost track of which ones were which, and I was like, all right. And then part of me was also just tired of hearing how they danced, because all the fight scenes seem to be about dancing. And I'm like,
Well,
yo, I get it.
It's interesting that you should bring that up. One of the reasons that I put down Salvatore is I read the Mortalis books. They're called the Demon Trilogy or Demon Dactyl Trilogy, and then there's one in the middle, and then there's a second trilogy. But and then after that, it got harder to read as it went. And Mortalis was basically about this fantasy version of the Black Plague in D&D land.
Okay.
Or Corona, the world of Corona, but it was still basically D&D. Then he did one called The Highwayman, and I thought it was going to be interesting because he had a character that looked a little bit like the Dread Pirate Roberts or whatever.
Yeah.
And calling it what he was calling it, I was like, there's got to be something to it. But in the beginning, for like 100 pages, it's just nothing but these guys trying to outrun these thieves. And then this dude that's the highwayman flipping out of a tree like he's doing somersaults and flips and whipping his sword around and flipping it, and it's like a circus act. And I'm like, there's no fucking way in the real world anybody's gonna do that shit while they're either robbing or saving someone from being robbed. There's no way. You're not flipping your sword around, throwing it up and catching it behind your back and, swooping it and doing your X's and flipping and spinning. And that's way too much friggin' work. In the real world, you're going to kill them or be killed as quickly as you can possibly do it. The job is to end it, not prolong it and show off your acrobatic skills. But that's what made me put it down, is because even though it was writing fantasy, it was really, really hard to suspend my disbelief from there. I'm going to focus on this in just a second.
So, funny story. You know that character of mine, Quick Vandalier?
Yeah.
And you know his sidekick?
I'm pretty sure I do.
Okay. Well, the sidekick was conceived first.
That's the one that
Silas the Fae.
wears the...
Well, I mean, trust me, it went through several different variations, but his name was always Silas the Fae. Well, no, that's not true. His name was originally Jack Owen. But...
He's the one that wears the seraph. That's what I was
yeah.
going to say.
Yeah. But it was... Because he started off being a dark elf, obviously a copy of Drizzt Do'Urden, or whatever his last name is.
Drizzt Do'Urden.
And
I pronounce it Drizzt Do'Urden. I don't know how he pronounces it.
Yeah, I don't know either. But so it was kind of a rip-off of that, and then slowly it just morphed into Silas the Fae, and then Silas the Fae, I just was like, he's more of the Doc Holliday to the Wyatt Earp, I think. And so that's when I got Quick Vandalier. But that was, R.A. Salvatore is kind of responsible for all that.
No, you are responsible for all that. You just
I know, but
by R.A. Salvatore.
He definitely was an inspiration on that.
Like, I'm not saying that that I wasn't entertained, but the trick is that I outgrew it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what you did, you took an idea, and I didn't get that from it. I've never read any of those quick stories and went, oh, Silas is a copy of Fritz.
Oh yeah, I don't think you could now.
No, well, so like that's not the way I see it. But I didn't read when I first read it. That's not.
Well, by the time you read something of him, yeah, it had progressed clear to the Silas the Fae thing, which also meant I had to have a concept for the Fae. That actually comes from. There's a short story that I sold, not for very much. It was not professional. But it was one of my first ones. And I don't even remember what it was called. But it's the first time I ever introduced my concept of the Fae. And first time I introduced the concept of Sanguinite. I mean, but it's definitely a Weird West story.
Yeah, see, to me, those were fun. And that's what I really got the liking from you. That's the first story that I read that really struck me as memorable was that one.
Huh.
That's why I recommended you to the publication that we share Table of Canson in.
That was a Heron Press one, wasn't it?
What's that?
That was, I mean, it was Gears, Gadgets, and Steam was the title
Yeah.
of the book. That was from Heron Press, wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay.
I just didn't hear what he said, so.
Okay. I was just making sure I had that one right.
Yep, that's why I tried to keep getting Jesse on here because he wants new blood, you know. You don't want to get on here and shove it.
Here's a question for you, which is dumb and really pedantic, but well, I've never taken a typing class in my life, and
Me either.
so some of the stuff I'm not exactly sure if I'm doing it right, but so I'm italicizing the name of a ship. Yeah.
Yep.
And
That's not about typing though. That's
well, I mean, it kind of
that's generally what's done when you're
Right.
talking about a ship.
But if you make it possessive, did you italicize the apostrophe S?
I don't. But you know,
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell.
somebody will at some point in time tell me whether or not I should.
Yeah.
Do you know Minion's site? Minion Fogarty?
Nope.
Grammar Girl.
Oh, yeah.
She would have an answer for that.
Yeah, I just feel like, as an English teacher, I should probably know this.
Well,
But I've never seen that come up ever.
I think that's dependent, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how much. So the language changes, and the way that wording changes along with the language, because you know the uneducated and uninitiated are getting their way. Oh, we can talk stupid now. But But so, for instance, cannons. I hate that word, cannons. You know what else other word that I hate? I'm talking about words that are actual, that have been changed because people are too lazy to find the right word. Conspiratorial. It's not a fucking conspiratorial wink. It's a conspiring wink.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
Now,
if you could.
What's that?
I'm just trying to think if there's a way of where conspiratorial would work.
Yeah, but anything that you use conspiratorial in, conspiring works better, or conspiringly.
Well, that's why I'm trying to think if I can come up with any. Because like the only exceptions to the rule,
And that's
English
like
has one rule. But it has no rules, really. Or there's an exception to all of them.
that's like canon. The plural of canon is not cannons. It's cannon or cannonade. But people are so lazy that instead of finding the right word, they just add it to a lexicon. Okay? Which makes us look stupid. I hate that. I'm not talking about us like as in you and me writers. I'm talking about us in the United States.
Oh, I don't know.
Or anyone that really changes their lexicon from the correct word to another word. That's like gender.
Just grow.
Gender is not sex. It's language. It's sex in language, but it's not sex. I'm not talking about someone's gender. I'm talking about somebody's sex. If I'm talking in a specific, like if you're saying a car or a lead pen or whatever, that's male versus female, that's gender. But that's male versus female language. So that just annoys the shit out of me. If somebody's too lazy to look up the right word, so they change the lexicon. Alright, so what I'm going to do is focus a little bit closer, so hopefully everybody can see what's going on with her. Now see the mountains clearly. There's a little temple right here. Some sandstone mountains here. There's some striations here. And reflections of them down here. And then you got your serpent. It's too bad that the axe ran off the page. She's still smaller than I would like her to be, so it's going to be enlarged at some point. Now, the cover photo will show this covering her up in my pen. You won't see anything, which I don't know why they do that. So yeah, hey, 2.5 hours. This is a short thing. Actually, could have ended it a little bit before, but we were talking about something relevant to writing, and I really want to really want to have more writing relevance on these because it's not just about art, about comic art. So it's about storytelling, really. That's the key. It's storytelling in illustration, storytelling in sequential illustration, storytelling in writing, storytelling in writing sequential. Like everything's storytelling, really. The only thing that I'm not doing storytelling is video, because I have no knowledge on it. Although I'd welcome somebody to come on and talk about it. So I'm going to continue to try to find guests. Brett, if you find anyone that's interested, or you know anybody in a different group or writing whatever, just let me know. You can talk. You can invite them on.
Okay.
I'd really love to see the channel grow in a way that, benefits everybody, because in the end, I want to help everybody sell their work and be a platform for that. What am I looking for? There was something specific that I was going to do. Besides end this thing. Oh, so that movie I was talking about with you.
Yeah.
I watched it just before the stream.
Was it any good?
Well, Al Pacino, you know what I mean?
That can be hit or miss.
It was Al Pacino, Donald Sutherland, Natasha Kinski was a little bit hit and miss, but, Natasha Kinski. It was 85, so things were different. It was a whole lot less bloody. Like he stabs a native 4 or 5 times, and basically his shoulder blocks the view of what he's doing, and when he pulls his hand away, there's no blood on it or no blood on the knife, but they don't focus on it either. So you can tell it's 1985, but like so they've got redcoats marching in, and the rebels are lined up, and so Al Pacino is playing somebody that's basically forced into being a rebel, and Donald Sutherland is playing a redcoat that's pretty much a enigmatic jackass. Really weird. But they're shooting the redcoats marching on, and the redcoats that fall just fall down and lay still. Like, yeah, they weren't crack shots back then. They weren't all head shots. Like, nobody's screaming, nobody's kicking, nobody's trying to crawl out of the way, nobody's trying to line their gun up to take a shot back at them, or, so. There were some things that I've really noticed about that type of storytelling that is archaic, I guess. That's like, have you ever watched Charles Bronson's The Mechanic?
I ever watched what?
The Mechanic, the Charles Bronson version.
No, not the Charles Bronson version. I think I've seen the Jason Statham one, but not the Charles. No.
Yeah, I like the Charles Bronson one, but it's obviously cinematic because, like, for instance, he's supposed to be a hitman, right? And he's looking out this window at his target, but he's literally hanging out the window. Like, he's got binoculars, and his elbows are outside of the window, and his upper body's hanging outside the window. Like, how does nobody on the street see that dude? I mean, they did it so that they could get a shot of him from a distance, you know what I mean? But
Right.
his target's like literally right across the street. So nobody notices him hanging out the window with binoculars. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But Charles Bronson had a much more presence. You know, it was like he didn't have to know martial arts. He could look at you threateningly and you'd believe him, you know?
Yeah.
And Jan Michael Vincent was the guy that was learning from him, so.
Hey.
Hey, ooh. Yeah, see. A shout.
Yeah.
Allow.
Your guess is as good as mine.
I'm going to call it E. Unless somebody else with an E pops up. Very cool. What are you going to do on a similar thing? Figures we're getting ready to.
I know.
Okay.
All right. We tried.
Right? Well,
You intimidated him.
yeah, right. I've done that before. I said hi to somebody and they were all like, ah! They heard, I'll follow your soul.
Yeah.
That's not what I was saying, man. Yeah, cool. Well, I'll definitely get the last of the axe in the picture, too. Thinking, you know, how simple I want to have that axe, because I kind of want it simple, but I kind of don't, you know?
Right.
Like, what can I do? I guess maybe I can play around with the blades a little bit.
Huh. Do a Thomas Kincaid light reflecting thing. I won't go with your color scheme, but hey, it'd be cool.
Well, the lights are actually going to be coming down directly on her. That's why there's the heavy shadows that there are. And I really don't have the midtones and heavy shadows distinguished on that right now because I just wanted to be able to lay it out.
Yeah.
Now that I've got the whole layout, and once I get approval, then I'm going to play around with it and perfect it a little bit more and then copy it and lay it on the canvas, well, not canvas, panel. Trying to make it match, that's the other thing too.
She'll be holding a large hammer and summoning the lightning.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So you're doing female proportions of thing.
That's the power up her toy.
Wow.
Uh,
Oh, that's a whole different kind of hammer. That is an entirely different kind of hammer than I was expecting.
I don't mean to make light of your art, man, because I'm not. I promise. I think it sounds awesome. I'm just having fun.
It does sound like he's doing the woman floor.
Yeah, but still, that's cool.
So, especially with the hammer up and summoning lightning. But I guess there's, I don't know, is there any other? There probably has to be some other mythology that's similar.
Ooh, that'd be kind of fun. Imagine if you had the hammer in one hand, because you know how you have like your axe and your sword?
Mm-hmm.
What if it was a hammer in one and a sickle in the other? It's Russia.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not that I want to promote communist themes, but still, it's a neat visual.
Well, stick around after, and I'll tell you a great graphic novel to check out if you want to see a fantasy version of that kind of shit.
So what, pushing communist crap? I don't want to see that, no.
I don't think it's pushing communist crap, but it's like a fantasy version of Russians, I guess.
Oh.
I was playing with that for a while there. You know, my own self. I don't know if I've given up on that. I just think I need to find end arcs for the other characters. Either that or go back and cut the hell out of it. Which I hate the idea of cutting out characters I like. The priest changed, the monk changed between the first version and the second version, and I like the first version monk better.
Okay.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think he's as strong of a character in the second version as he was in the first version. He has a little bit more to him, but he doesn't have that same attitude. He can stick a torch in somebody's mouth. That was blasphemy.
Huh. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, so yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up. If you like what you see, you like the process, like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Oh yeah, cool. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
So now she's become the Dungeons and Dragons dude?
Dude, don't make fun of it. That sounds badass too.
Well, what was that dude's name? The one
Eric? No, Eric. Was Eric the one with the shield? I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, that bow was pretty cool.
It
I'm
was.
thinking there was something else like that too, but like a power bow. Maybe it was like a black one or something like that.
No idea.
Black Star. Or she would be holding a bow in some way. Well, that at least that sounds a little bit more different. It sounds a little bit further from a female version of Thor, even though it sounds a little bit like a female version of the dude from the
They didn't
cartoon.
summon lightning. They just shot whatever they needed to for that episode. So
What?
on the Dungeons and Dragons lightning bow thing, the ranger had it, whatever his name was. He didn't summon lightning though. I mean, it was.
Well, yeah, like I said it's Viking. You know, it's
Okay.
like I don't think they clearly said what it was. I just thought it was like an energy thing, but
That's what I thought too. But I'm saying, if he's summoning lightning, like that sounds like I can picture something like that in my head. Sounds pretty awesome.
yeah, so it's like a magic bow that someone's waiting.
Yeah, but that actually makes a little bit more sense, honestly,
Yeah.
than a hammer.
Well, I was saying it felt more original than a hammer. Because the whole female Thor and what's her face being Thor in the movie, and so that changes it up from that. I don't have a problem with a woman swinging a hammer, you know, either. That may be another one. There are 2 more seasons, you know. We've got a sword, and now we've got a sword and a short sword and an axe.
Yeah.
There will be more. 2 more.
Well,
I was thinking maybe a spear, so spear and a hammer, that might cover most of it.
that's covered, yeah.
I have a military pick, military warhammer, you know, where it's a pick on one side and a hammer head with four points on the square. So it's like it's got a square head like this. It comes into a flat body like a hammer, except for then there's a military pick on this side. But on this side, each one of these corners are a point. It's an authentic military hammer, warhammer, medieval warhammer.
The shot said, "Thanks, I will go for it."
Yeah, sounds cool. Sounds cool. If you do, share it. Share it on Discord. If you're watching here and you tell me that you shared it on Discord, I'll share it on here. I like to promote everybody else's work just as much as mine. So, all right, that's it. Thank you everybody for coming. Thanks for somebody talking in the room.
It's always nice to have comments.
Right. I guess, and they're really not negative, so all right. Good night. God bless. I love you all.
Peace.